Welcome back to Wrestling Brain. I'm Alturusin's Josh Custodio here for the Wrestling Brain official AEW Dynasty preview show, but not alone, thank God. None of you would watch this. No. Joined by two very special gentlemen. One, you know his face from around here. He's the host of WBCW Meltdown on the channel. The great Torque Penderloin, Andrew C. Slak in the house. Slak, man, how we doing today?
Doing great. Work is over for one more day, so I can't complain.
And it's a pay-per-view week, so like you crawl towards a good something to look forward to weekend.
Big time.
And of course, we're not alone. I was about to say, I was going to introduce this guy as your friend, but that makes it seem like I don't like him. But he is sort of, you guys are more of a pair. Anyway, yeah, you know us writing from everywhere. You're writing about pro wrestling here, there, and everywhere. The wonderful Sam Fels joins us today. Hi, Sam.
Thanks, Josh, for having me. I'm excited about this, and I'm happy to carry the former comedian balding guy flag from Zoobs for this evening.
I didn't know you were also a former comedian, Sam.
I was 7 years in my 20s. I did stand up. So Zoobs and I have a lot in common, other than his success and happiness and all that. But who cares about that?
You've always got, every time I talk to you, Sam, there's a new layer. I didn't know that. I found out a couple months ago that you wrote a zine and handed it out on the streets of Chicago, something I think is a very, very cool thing to do. That's what the motivated version of me would be doing, something that cool.
Yeah, it was. I was outside every Hawks home game for the hockey fans out there, and it was cold as shit, but we did it. So that was 8 years. So they overlapped a little bit, but yeah, it's been a time. It's been a time. I've had some adventures. Let's put it that way.
I love when I can know everything about a person's life for 15 years in 1 minute. That suits me perfectly. I feel like we're all caught up.
Snap it right up.
Yeah, stand up 7 years. Immediately stop that. Immediately start the Z. It was 15 years exactly. And we're all caught up. Sam, thanks again for joining us here on the preview show. Now we're gonna start with something unimportant here. It's been maybe realized or reflected to me more than ever recently that I just care more about this stuff and the minutia of it than others sometimes. And I love to dissect the small stuff. So I'll start with you here, Sam. We'll ricochet it right back. What do you think of the name AEW Dynasty? I've said lots of times, I think AEW has a pay-per-view name problem. I don't think they're especially good at naming pay-per-views. Slak and I make it look easy every Monday with things like Never Ending Weekend Infinity, Glorious Hardcore Extravaganza. Where does Dynasty stack up in your mind?
Well, I screwed it up twice on the podcast Slak and I do, previewing this that we're doing now, telling people this we're doing. I called it Dynamite twice. So it's not great when your main show is called Dynamite and you're gonna.
It is too similar to Dynamite. I didn't even put that together. I feel like that's a problem.
It's a second angle you can go with.
And Dynasty is just not. It doesn't evoke. I mean, it's fine. I don't think it's terrible. But having helped name one of your pay-per-views on Wrestling Brain Championship Wrestling, I feel as though I can say it's not great. It's not. It could be better.
What about you, Slak? Are we making much ado about nothing, or is Dynasty kind of a whack name?
Well, I mean, we talk about this stuff, so it's certainly in bounds to bring it up. I don't think about it, but when I am asked to think about it, I don't like it. It doesn't ruin anything for me. Also, it's in St. Louis, which is the worst city on the planet. It's just fact.
True.
So they deserve a shitty name for their pay-per-view. If it doesn't go back to St. Louis next year, they should change it to something good.
So if it were in a better city, you would have more of a problem with the pay-per-view.
I'd be more upset. Right.
If this was Dynasty Chicago, watch out.
St. Louis has a bad name pay-per-view and no airport. That's all you need to know about St. Louis.
They don't have an airport in St. Louis?
Well, that's what I tell people.
Just like Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't especially like it. Double or Nothing's okay after All In, the casino thing, but Revolution, I don't know. I guess Forbidden Door's all right. Anyway.
You love the Full Gear noise, though, from what we understand, correct?
Full Gear sucks as a name. Is that the worst one?
It might be.
I think it might be. I think World's End is good. I like because of the date.
I agree. World's End, and I love the timing of that pay-per-view. In between Christmas and New Year's is just perfect for me for a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's probably the only one that's like good. I think it's I get why Double or Nothing is named what it is, and they have All In, All Out. But yeah, this not great. But I get they're going for the one word thing, and how many of these are there? I don't know.
Who is the AEW Dynasty? Slak. Another overhead question for you here before we get into the actual pay-per-view itself. As we enter Sunday, what should AEW's mission statement be? What do they need Sunday to look like for it to be considered a win for the company?
Oh man, that's the question. If it's just what does Sunday have to look like, it just needs to be jaw-dropping match quality. That's what I'm looking for, right? I just want to see, and I'll be honest with you, we'll get into it. There's some angle forwarding I need to see as well in certain matches that I need to see. And I need them to get away from the sort of shadow of WrestleMania week or weekend or whatever you want to call it. So there's like a demarcation line from Sunday forward that I hope they step in the right direction, consistently going from Sunday forward. So put on the best matches you can, which are typically something they do. They're obviously really good at that. Further a couple big angles, especially in the women's division, and march forward. That's what I'm looking for.
How about you, Sam? What do you think AEW should be wanting their fans to be saying and thinking as they exit Sunday night's pay-per-view?
I mean, I think it's pretty simple. I think they just need to basically put on the same quality pay-per-view they always do. I mean, this is AEW's thing. No matter what the problems they're having at the moment, the pay-per-views, for the most part, have been no worse than good and mostly excellent. And I think that's all they really need to do Sunday, and I'm fairly sure they will. Just having their same high quality. I agree with Slak that there needs to be a bit more story forwarding, setting up some more stuff going forward, because they're about to get into their busy season than they usually do with pay-per-views. I think the pay-per-views kind of stand alone generally. Not that they're always a reset, but they're just kind of like a cutoff there. And then the next Dynamite, they kind of begin afresh. I think this one would help to set up some stuff. They usually save that stuff for TV, but I don't think there's some giant new mission statement from this show Sunday. They just have to do what they consistently do, which is put on a great show, have great matches, get their fans talking and buzzing, and we'll forget about all the stuff we've been complaining about for the past 10 days or so. That's just what we come for. That's what they give to us. It's a pretty simple relationship, and that's kind of all I need out of it.
I largely agree with you guys. They need to be AEW. I think that's maybe harder lately than maybe it should be. I don't feel like they have necessarily felt entirely like themselves lately in some ways. And so,
yeah.
But I agree with you guys that obviously it sort of goes without saying, right? The pay-per-view needs to be great, but I do think that this needs to be a very clear demarcation. I think they've set themselves up well for this. One chapter's closed. Whatever was in everybody's minds is there. And now we're going here. And we'll kick that off. Go ahead, Slak.
Yeah, I think this is something that really was racing through my head during New Japan Riot. Sam and I went to that show a couple Fridays ago, I guess last Friday. And to me, I would love them to declare what clearly was going on at that show, which was we're partnering with all of the promotions around the world, whether it's Mexico or Japan or wherever, to put on the best show with the best wrestlers. It doesn't matter where they work. And I don't think you need to be doing this casual fan BS sports entertainment stuff at all, and just do what you did Friday, which was very much an AEW New Japan show, even if they didn't advertise it as one. I think the Rocky Romero and Tony Khan partnership, whatever they've got cooking with CMLL, which has been awesome. Stephanie Vaquer is incredible. She needs to be featured more on things where people can watch it. She is unbelievable. And just seeing that spirit of collaboration and one promotion lifting up another, Moxley going and taking the New Japan title and keeping that fed above water while it goes through a transitional period, because they're helping each other out. And I think that in itself is such a noble thing to do. Say it. Tell people this is what we're doing. Like, I couldn't have been more rejuvenated coming out of that show, feeling like this is worth what we're doing and the growing pains that we're experiencing. Hits here, misses there. Like, yeah, there's some stuff that just feels a little off, and it's worth it though if we just keep going in this direction. It really is. It feels like those partnerships are getting stronger, and it's only good news for us, the people who like pro wrestling.
Very well said. And ironically, not the strongest speaker on the show, but I think Mercedes Moné is the only person who is actually calling this out on the television, that she is making it known that she is there because in order to prove that you're the best, it involves being able to be global, and only in AEW can you actually be a global champion. I think that's basically close to her exact words at one point. And I agree with you. I think that is one of I remember there was a big thing when TNA first came out being not diet WWE. Okay, they have the X division. They have the 6-sided ring. They're trying to differentiate them. They've signed Hulk Hogan. They've signed all the stars of yesterday.
Oh, man.
Okay. But what are those things for AEW? What are the things that make you not the diet New York territory? And I think exactly what you're describing might be the number one thing that the AEW territory can offer, which is if you think you're the best, you can come on over and prove it. And I think that's a really cool, and I like that you said collaborative way to approach it.
Yep.
But to what I was saying about closing one chapter and opening a new, I'm going to get it out of the way right out the gate. Sam, are you picking Swerve Strickland to pick up the title on Sunday night against Samoa Joe?
I am. I think I don't know that they've played this perfectly, but they've played it pretty well. It just feels like this is the moment. And I'm kind of one of those guys, wrestling fans are like, you can't miss the bear. You can't miss the moment. Like, it's here now. You just go with it. And even if it's not perfect, you can make it better after the fact with his run. I think the match is going to be great. It's what I'm looking forward to most on the show. Obviously he will look different. He's the first Black AEW champion, but he is different than any champ that any federation has had on TV. He's an actual like celebrity, like star, crossover, whatever. I just think there's so much to be gleaned from him being atop of the company. Now that Joe isn't great, he is, but I think he's great in a way that we fans always assumed he would be, and it's great for us. But Swerve can be that and more, especially heading into the summer when you've got Double or Nothing, Forbidden Door, heading into All In London. Their summers are so packed. I think it's time. I think he's ready for it. You see this guy, like every time he walks in, I'm just like, this is the coolest guy in the world. And it's all come together. I think they have to pull the trigger on this.
What about you, Slak? Are you picking Swerve Strickland to be your new AEW World Champion?
Yeah, I am. But for whatever reason, like you're asking and the way you're asking gives me a little fear, which I hate. Like, and it's not just you. I've seen people discussing this, and good faith people. I tend to ignore the crazy ones, but just that it's not just getting him in that scene now and making him your champion now, but not pushing him out of that situation soon just to do something, whether it's at All In or whatever. They got to let him grow into the role of champion and be top of the card guy for longer than a transitional period. It's not just he has to win this pay-per-view, but he has to like be the champion for a while and have a nice run. You got to go with him, because I heard it said pretty well, like people in AEW tend to stay in their little lane, in their role. They don't usually break out of it. I think we've talked about this at length for years, whether on the Discord or just in general, maybe on Double Dudes. You could name the people who you think could realistically win the AEW heavyweight title. And it's not a huge list of people. It's typically the people who've already won it before, and maybe a handful of others. And Swerve was not the guy that you would have picked to move into that spot when he signed. I don't think anybody would have said that.
Certainly not me. He would give at that point John Moxley a run for his money as like the best guy at shedding whatever he had from the old company, that he is here and the top guy, and that's sort of the ultimate way to prove it. That's funny that you thought I was laying a trap or something. I am also picking Swerve Strickland to win the title here. And I've thought about this a lot because I'm flatly not ready for Samoa Joe's run to end. He has been the perfect rudder for this ship in what has been, I don't want to say stormy waters, because I really don't think AEW is, when I see, because I got to be careful with this, because I like to criticize the company. I like to talk about it, point out its flaws, because I want it to be better. And I still largely enjoy it. But then I see people who think it's like going out of business. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? So I don't want to say, when I say stormy waters that Samoa Joe is steering them through, I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm talking about the MJF end of his title run souring the main event scene for my interest, from the Jay White feud and just sort of the entire babyface turn to some degree. Yep. You have this fallout there, and you can look to Joe and it's just like, no, he's a big bad guy. I want to see his matches. They attach Swerve and Hanger to him. I really liked everything that was going on there. So that's what I'm talking about. I don't think this is like, the company is going to go out of business if Samoa Joe is not the champion or anything. I know you guys know that.
It's very, yeah, we do. And it's very obvious when people are criticizing in good faith and when they're not.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
But I do think that Samoa Joe is going to give up the title here. I think it was a very wise decision to put the title on him at that point. I think it was a really savvy call by Tony Khan in that moment you do sort of have open field. I know for myself, I was picking Swerve to win the triple threat against him and Joe. I thought that they were going to crown Swerve Strickland there. So in some ways, this hasn't been overdue for me. I do think Swerve's maybe slightly less hot than at that moment, but not in some sort of big, meaningful measure. And I've liked this feud enough to account for it. So no, I don't really see a way around it. I think they have set themselves up for the good guy to beat the bad guy. And sort of like Sam was saying, Swerve doesn't reflect anybody in that title lineage in a lot of ways. And for that, it will feel like a new chapter. He isn't elite adjacent. He isn't CM Punk. And he is an ex-WWE guy, but not in this conventional sense as John Moxley or Chris Jericho.
He didn't. I know he got on the main roster, but he didn't. He was way, this isn't, Samoa Joe who was on commentary and had like a pay-per-view title match. Like he was like not even middle of the card on the main roster. He had a big NXT run. So in that way, he almost feels more organic.
Yeah.
They're not importing star power here. They've generated his star power. He's generated it, but they've allowed it to grow in a way the other guys, however you want to put it, didn't. And I think that makes him even more attractive as a champion. Like we know Joe and Moxley, Kenny from NJPW. Like we know these guys were bringing their own reputation and star power from there. But like Swerve feels like an AEW creation, even if he's technically not. Like he never hit these heights anywhere else. And I think that's important to have at the top of the roster. Just like MJF. Like it was important when MJF won. And I think it's a different side of the coin for Swerve to win, because he is, even if he's not technically, he feels like a grown organic AEW product.
Go ahead, Slak.
Yeah, I think he just spiritually doesn't feel like a WWE guy.
Yeah.
I would argue maybe even to some degree Christian doesn't feel that way because of his big TNA run. Like he didn't necessarily, like he obviously had a much longer and sustained series, I should say, run of being at the top of either the tag division or whatever you want to call it in WWE when we were all younger and in our formative years. But yeah, no, I Swerve is like one of those guys who's like, yeah, they tried to call me and poach me back and I told them to go fuck off. Like that's the,
right.
We talk about this a lot. Like the guys who like really want to be here doing their thing, like that stuff rubs off positively on me when I hear it. And yeah, he comes off as the guy, like, to me, who just wants to be great, and he wants to be great to bring everybody else up to that level with him. He's not looking for the next payday, or I'm just waiting for my next contract, or I'm waiting to go back to the Fed so I can, show them what they missed. Like it's just, it's easy to root for a guy like that, who's just really taken himself into a whole different stratosphere in front of our eyes in this company.
Totally agree. Very well said. And I think the only thing that I really want to put a cap on for this feud is to say that my cap goes off to both these guys. I think this is the only real super hot feud on this card, frankly. And for that, and that's correct. For it to, the world title, if you have to say, hey, what should be the hottest feud on the card? Give me the world title every time. No complaints here. But that's a credit to these guys because they've had to extend it. This isn't a fresh feud. It was a fresh feud one-on-one, but they've already engaged, and to still be the hottest a feud later is definitely something to get credit for from me.
Yeah, to some degree, I do wonder if Hangman didn't take time off, what that feud extended would look like. Probably as hot, if not hotter. Like that thing still had, for whatever they've been through, like that thing still has juice to me. And he's obviously off for a while. He's been off for a while. So I really do hope he comes back and kind of stirs that pot up again, because there's some juice left in that squeeze for sure. But the segments they've done have been brutal. They've been violent. They featured cool spots. Someone mentioned, remember when the international title was the hottest title on the show? And I'm like, well, which one is hottest now. It can only be one. You can't say multiple titles are the hottest, and you're right. It's the world title, and that's kind of what we were missing at the end of last year. So nice.
I did want to add last night's spot where Swerve did the dive into the security but landed on his feet, and like everyone clears out Calvin Tankman among the security guys. Like okay, here's a spot we've seen 100 times, but here's how they do it in a way we hadn't seen before. And I like Swerve's just that cool. He's that athletic. He's that graceful. Like he's just gonna stick this in a way so that makes me pop even more for this match. So yeah, I'm super excited for the main. I feel like it somehow got hidden behind Ospreay and Danielson, but no, this one's gonna be so much fun.
That's lost on me. We'll talk about that match next up here. Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay. I think this might be its spot on the card as well, co-main event. And I agree with you, Sam. I think that this is the most anticipated match on the card for a lot of people. And on one hand, I understand it. The Will Ospreay singles match is the must-see, almost the pay-per-view sell in a lot of cases. There's a lot of comparisons to be made between him and Kenny Omega, but I think in that way, very specifically, they can be compared, which is, oh, what's the Kenny match on this pay-per-view? Okay, well, what's the Ospreay match? And also, like Kenny, you put anyone good on the other side of that, and it immediately feels like a dream match. Yeah. But for me, I really feel like they've underserved what this collision of greats could be. I'm still very much looking forward to the match. There is no doubt that it's going to kick ass. But Sam, as somebody who's enjoying the main or looking forward to the main event more, what is it about Bryan and Ospreay that has managed to capture people's attention so much and have it eclipse the main event in a lot of ways?
Well, part of it is it's a testament to how good Ospreay has been since he arrived. And Slak will tell you, I was not his biggest fan before he moved in. There was a level of self-seriousness to him that he has shed in AEW. The one thing you could say is he's not taking himself very seriously since arrival. You know, he's put on a string of matches that will be on everyone's match of the year list, like back to back to back. His promos have been great. He's portraying this new character who just is, you can't help but root for him and watch him. So some of it is just everyone wants to see what Ospreay's doing. And the very name Bryan Danielson, everyone now is just like, okay, that's a great match. I don't care who's wrestling. It's going to be great. It's going to be full of, you know, his in-ring pathos. It's going to be awesome. So it's just people assuming because of what they've seen before that it's going to be great. And that's kind of what AEW does. And that's what other people make fun of it for, is that you guys, you know, you just want to see two people wrestle. You don't care about this. You don't care about this, which is obviously not true. This might be the most of that they've done. But I think it's just a testament to how good Ospreay's been and what Danielson's run in AEW has been. Like you can just put these two names on a graphic, flash it on your screen, and every fan just knows what it means. Like it just conjures something in their mind immediately of what they're going to see and how much they're going to love it. And you know, I can see where it's easy to let that just get where people get carried away with it.
Slak, look into the crystal ball, which I know you have somewhere in there, maybe behind Baby Billy, and let me know. Sunday's ended. Was this match of the night Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson?
Quite possibly, yeah. I think this is where, okay, I really expected Danielson to come out at the end of the show last night, and I was kind of disappointed that he didn't. Whether he had something where he just wasn't there, which is more than likely the case, fine. It just was weird. It was weird that it was just Mox and Claudio, and they were actually almost kicking off the Ospreay doesn't want to be part of the Don Callis family anymore story, which has been a long time coming. And I think if they find a way to weave that into I don't know. This is where I struggle, because the match itself will be good and it should be good enough to speak for itself on its own without shenanigans. But this match also has these two factions that are both super powerful factions that hate each other at this point. And it's hard to see them not getting involved in some way, shape, or form, whether it's during or after. I'm interested in this story, but they didn't really build any of it up before the match, where it could have added so much more juice. We talked about this also, that you could have done Danielson's interrupting music spot where he puts his music on while the guy's still celebrating in the ring from his last match. He did it to Ospreay once. have them meet on the ramp and just fucking punch each other, like just there's not any real heat here yet. And also, if Will Ospreay is trying to break off or doesn't approve of what Don Callis and his goons are doing right now, doesn't that align him with Bryan Danielson, who he's wrestling? So I've got questions about the whole thing. Like, the build is questionable. The match is going to be awesome. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I see this match as a kickoff to Blood and Guts, really. And I think this is going to be the Blood and Guts is going to be Callis Family and BCC is my guess. I don't have that based on anything, but I think it's in the next couple months. Feels about right to me, especially last night they had this big brawl segment to go off air. But I'm not as willing to give Bryan Danielson the excuse to not be there last night. I appreciate that these guys are fighting. Great names on a poster, like you both said. Stylistically, who doesn't want to see Bryan try and ground the Flyer to some degree? It's going to be very interesting. But I thought that it was underserved and could have felt. I'd love to be salivating to see these two. I was more excited for Takeshita Ospreay than I am for Danielson Ospreay. It's not even close. I couldn't have been more excited to watch Takeshita Ospreay.
So, yeah, and it's still over delivered.
Oh, right. Still,
yeah, it will do well to be that good. I mean, that's just how good that Takeshita match was.
Man, yeah, exactly right. If they get that good, I'll be thrilled.
I had the same thought last night when they were doing all the Don Callis BCC stuff. Like, oh, this is the Blood and Guts build. This is what it has to be. So, which makes me wonder if there aren't going to be some shenanigans Sunday, which they don't really do on pay-per-views. I'll give them that. That's not really a thing they go to. I always predict it. Slak will tell you. I'll sit at the bar next to Slak, like, oh, there's going to be this run-in and this debut on the pay-per-view. And they don't do it. But yeah, I think I'm sort of wondering if they're not saving the build for after this, which is a little disappointing. But I think the match will be good enough that I'm not going to, I can't lose any hair over it. But you know what I mean?
I understand exactly what you mean. And how about a pick on this one, guys? Anybody thinking otherwise, or is it going to be chalk Will Ospreay winning here?
I don't think he's going to win, honestly.
Oh,
but I don't know that means they rarely. I can't even remember a pay-per-view match where they did a non-finish. I'm blanking here.
Yeah, I don't think there has been one.
So I guess I have to pick Danielson. Yeah, I feel like they have to almost. It sounds stupid, but they almost have to slow Ospreay's roll a bit.
No, I think you're 100% right, dude. That's a great call. Go ahead.
Just because, like, it's so powerful right now. Like, he is, Josh, you've called him the ace of AEW right now, and he is. And I feel like if he beats Danielson and you kind of send him after Moxley or whatever else you're going to do, there's going to be so much momentum there, and we're also going to be trying to create a Swerve championship reign that you don't want to pale in comparison to this momentum this other guy has. So I feel like, you might just have to pause it for a little bit with a Danielson win, which he may get through various means. But I think that's what they're going to do, because like it almost feels like they have to, especially if they're going to cut to Blood and Guts instead of just having Ospreay rocket up the card. So I think Danielson gets the win. I don't know that it'll be clean or anything like that, but I think he's going to win.
Slak, I see you nodding along. You like this?
Yeah, I love it actually, and I didn't really think about it until Sam pointed it out. So that's fun for me to hear in real time. Like, I would pick Ospreay if gun to head, and I'll probably pick him in the pick'em in the Discord as well, just because that seems what they're trying to do. But you're 100% right. He should lose, and he should lose now, not later, so that you're not throwing him and saying like, well, we've got rankings now. Will Ospreay's beaten Takeshita. He's beaten Danielson. He's beaten Claudio. Like, why is this guy not getting a shot at Swerve? I don't want him to get a shot at Swerve right now. I don't think that's, unless you have Swerve beating him, but a babyface title match. I don't need that right now. So in that vein, I hope Sam is right. I love the way he's thinking about it.
It's interesting. I feel like you guys are almost viewing it in like a feast or famine way that I don't really share. And I'm supposed to be the negative on AEW, one of the three of us. Sam, and I think you guys both said it all very well, but Sam, you had said that it wouldn't be especially helpful to Swerve to have like their trajectories compared, or that you'd be looking at one guy and say, oh, he's I think like a top of card really hot scene is helpful. It's the only part of the Attitude Era I actually like, is that there's 4 to 5 super over people at the top of the card. Now they're hot-shotting their belt around in a way that I would never want it. Hardly, I'm not praising all those sorts of things, but that part of it where you have a title scene of believability. Now it's hard to achieve without moving that belt around a little bit more. Part of the staticness of the AEW belt is why we often pick for the successful defense. But I would love to be salivating and begging for the swerve, what would feel like a Swerve Ospreay collision of these two stars, and to see him at 100 yards coming. You get it. I feel like in combat sports, maybe a bit more than wrestling, where it's like, okay, will the politics of he's here and he's here allow, and they both need so much money, but could we get these two titans in a room to sign on the dotted line and finally have the match, the collision of these two superstars, Warrior Hogan or whatever the hell it would be. Obviously not that good, but but
what could be?
Yeah. I mean, he's a double axe handle. He'll never need anything else. But it's so, I don't know. I don't feel, and so I understand what you guys are saying is valuable. I just don't want that win to go to Bryan Danielson. Like, it's no more complicated than that to me. Of all the people to halt the Will momentum, to continue the feud, do it a week later with Mox, who's got the IWGP title, something Will would care about. Like, it makes a ton of sense for Will to, okay, dodge the title scene. I beat Bryan, but I want that guy for the old belt. Like, I feel like that is ultimately more of a momentum that I would enjoy more than just, I understand the value of what you guys are saying, that might be fun, but I just don't think Bryan's the guy for it. I don't think Bryan needs any sort of momentum.
And that's, I mean, that's cool. And the way you laid out sounds great to me. I'll sign up for that. I also agree with your attitude area. There's always 4 or 5 guys around the main title scene. You know who they are, even if they're not holding it, they're there. I think that works great. It's almost become like a meme that Danielson doesn't win on pay-per-views now. Like, we just like, it's just like he just puts guys over. He doesn't want to win. So I can see where you're like, okay, Bryan, you gotta win one.
Yeah, to keep it interesting.
Just so that we know that, like, people might believe you'll win on all the ones coming up for the rest of your career. He says his career is going to end in the fall. I don't believe it, but whatever.
Well, there's simply no such thing as a retired wrestler. There never has been.
Absolutely. So, I mean, he'll always come back for a pay-per-view or 2 per year. So the combination of those, I feel like he's going to sneak a win here, just so they can, like, just so his next pay-per-view match, we're not like, oh, Danielson's putting another guy over in a great match. Like, it gets a little repetitive.
It's so I will be picking Will Ospreay. At Slak, I think you did say you would ultimately be on Ospreay, but I like Sam taking the other side of it there. Very nice.
That's the beauty of these shows.
You're damn right. But we do other shows, not on this channel. You're watching this on YouTube. But if you're going to be watching Dynasty, you the viewer, not Slak and Sam. I know you guys, you'll be at the damn bar, knee deep in chicken fingers. But if you are watching this, you're going to be watching Dynasty. We're going to be doing a special thing on the channel the moment Dynasty ends. Zoobs has the night off. There's no Zoobs. It's just me, and I'll be taking your calls. So go to twitch.tv/wrestlingbrain. The moment Dynasty ends, I want to know your scores, your match of the night, your performer of the night. Give me a call. We'll talk about it. It's your chance to be on it. Look how good Slak and Sam are doing. They're having the time of their lives. This could be you this Sunday, twitch.tv/wrestlingbrain, the moment Dynasty ends. All right, guys, let's jump into another world title scene. We have Thunder Rosa challenging for Timeless Tony Storm's AEW Women's World Title. Now, Slak, off the top of the show, you were praising I forget exactly how you put it, but the variety, or at least the interest in the multiple women's title scenes in AEW currently. Yeah. What do you think about Thunder Rosa being the one challenging Tony Storm here? Is she a holdover from this old era, or is she part of this new era of the AEW women's scene? Which I think I can use that shorthand. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say the new era of AEW women's divisions.
No, I don't know. I think I'm a little out on Rosa right now. I don't really expect that to change. I don't know what. I mean, it's logically her back was so bad that she's probably not as crisp or as good as she was. And I'm sure it feels better than it did, but I'm sure it still isn't great. It's a back. Once your back's gone, your back's gone. I think we all know what that's like. So, like, I don't know. I thought she's doing her best. She did. I thought was a decent promo on the ramp the other day. Just to try to hype this up. She never lost the title, so I get why you want to give her the chance to, like, try to get it back and get that out of the way. But I think she's in the way of a better story that everyone's holding their breath on, and that's the Mariah Tony implosion, which it's the fireworks factory at this point. Let's go. They love to take their time, and I get it. The Wardlow MGF thing took forever. And did it hit when it happened? Yeah, it worked out great. But Mariah May is spectacular in the ring. She's such a good wrestler. It's crazy how much I enjoy her matches, and I'm not trying to be like a creep about it. She's a really good wrestler. It's nothing to do with how she looks. I mean, a good look is helpful, but she shouldn't be in this position much longer. There is a star there, a huge star. And Tony's thing is still funny, but let's amp it up then. If she's going to continue to be the champion, let's do this. Let's make this happen. This is such a hot angle waiting to happen, and you're sitting on it. Let's go. So I really want them to push that envelope at this pay-per-view with that story. And my hunch is they won't. My hunch is that they're not going to do it. Tony's going to win. And the match, I'm hoping, is better than passable. But I'm not sure. I'm just not sure that it will be.
What about you, Sam? Where does Tony Storm's reign sort of set here? Are you ready for it to end? Is Thunder Rosa the person? Where are you on this one?
No, I love Tony Storm's reign. I love all of this. I know some on the channel wonder how long it can go. I cackle every time she's on screen. I just love it. I thought the last match she had, and I'm blanking, it was on Collision against
Azumi.
Azumi.
It was outstanding.
Where it was great, and it also felt like the first time she was doing her character before the match, but in the ring came out of the character so she could have a more expansive match. It was great. Azumi's obviously a star.
She's unreal. Yeah.
Slak and I were joking at Windy City, right? Just send Anna Jay over to Stardom. Let Azumi wail on her for 2 months and see what you have afterwards.
No Anna Jay.
That's what. Yeah, well, that's what you'd have. I also have a bigger soft spot for Thunder Rosa than most. She was a regular at our local indie here that I go to every month. That's always going to develop a soft spot. She was a breath of fresh air in the women's division when she arrived, and that's 4 years ago now. So I get it. I don't think this match will be great, but I think it'll be better than what we're dreading. I mean, Rosa has looked off since she came back. But I disagree with Slak. I think there will be, it might be subtle, but there will be something forwarding the Tony Mariah feud story in this match. I don't know what it'll be, because I can't get out of my head that come All In, it's going to be Mariah and Jamie. They're going to do that match at Wembley. How could they not? And you've got to start setting those wheels in motion. I think we're going to get Tony and Mariah at Double or Nothing. So I think something will happen here that forwards the story. Tony's going to win. Tony's going to retain. But I think also, Thunder Rosa's a kind of in the Shida territory. She'll wrestle a match on the level of her opponent. Tony's great, so I think she'll be much better than we've seen. It'll be stiff. It'll be stiff as shit. I'm sure it's that. I'm looking forward to it. It's not going to be a match of the night. But
I'm sort of in where you went at the end there. They've actually got me in on this match because I spend too much time on the internet. I have a total conspiracy theory based on nothing real, although mine on last month's preview show was correct for the record, but I have another conspiracy theory based off of nothing here.
Love those.
I think the AEW women's locker room does not like Thunder Rosa.
I agree.
And I think Tony Storm is the leader of the AEW women's locker room. Okay? I think both those things based off of nothing. And so I think that Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm are going to go out there and work a match that I want to see. I think there will probably be a physicality of dislike between the two of them. I think you might be able to sense it at points. I could see Tony Storm maybe hitting a little harder than the Timeless character has in ring at points, although you guys are right, with Azumi, there was another side of her shown, but I think on pay-per-view sometimes she feels very in the character of Timeless Tony, which is who she is, so why wouldn't she be? But I actually have eyes on this match. I think that there's, based off of nothing, fiction in my mind, I am looking forward to seeing this one play out. I'm picking Tony to retain, but I could see Mariah doing like a trying to help, but almost cost you the match thing.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
A seed is planted at least, because like you guys and everyone on Earth, I think Mariah just seems like a very obvious person, probably who's outgrowing the role of sidekick or understudy or whatever you'd call her at this point very quickly. The only thing I'm not sure about, though, is your timeline, Sam. Because I feel like the show's telling me Deonna Purrazzo is in this scene in a way that I hadn't really considered before. I thought she was sort of out on this. Maybe there's just going to be a big TV episode of Dynamite, and it's a big defense for whoever wins on Sunday. But I don't know. I felt like yesterday was them saying Deonna is 1v1 the strongest of these people and is still in this vicinity. So I'm picking Toni Storm to retain, but in a match that I'm looking forward to, and I think we might get some of the desired information about Wemby going forward. So I'm pretty looking forward to this match.
As long as the locker room leader isn't Britt Baker, I don't care. Like that's fine with me.
I'm ready for Britt to come back, to be honest.
I mean, they do need someone like that because she can be a good promo, and they just don't have enough of those.
I feel like everyone who was, this goes for Nyla, this goes for Britt, this goes for Serena Deeb. I feel this certainly goes for Chris Statlander. I feel like all of these women should get a shot with the new upper crust, and based off of one performance I can go, okay, they're here, or no, they're not. But I don't want it to feel like, okay, and now we're on to the new stuff. Like, I do think that there's a melding and a strength at that bottom that can still be tapped into.
I don't want them to shed a skin, as it were, and leave these women behind, but I don't think Chris or Nyla, they're great. Like, I'm surprised Nyla hasn't been on, although this latest stuff they might start pushing her to take advantage of it, which they should. I think it's actually gonna be a little different because the way they've been playing this, like when Mariah worked her way into the number one contenders match, Toni was actually proud of the way she sort of snuck in and like was challenging her. So I think that's how they'll go about it. Like, Toni will reward her, with a championship match that she wins, and then they sort of have a split. Like, how dare you actually beat me after I give you this? That way you can get like a couple matches out of it. But
are either of you familiar with All About Eve, the movie?
I'm not.
It's been a while.
Either. I'm not either, but I know the people watching this are. So however that movie goes is how this is going to go, because that's what they're doing.
Right. That's what they're doing.
We need to ask them. Me, I'm Portuguese, so I only know Adam and Eve. You guys know that tale? The forbidden fruit?
Heard a little bit
somewhat familiar. Somewhat familiar, yeah. Rings a bell.
That's a good one. Stay away from snakes, everyone. Okay. Tag titles on the line. Boy, we could spend an hour on this one. It's the Young Bucks and FTR in a ladder match for the vacant AEW World Tag Team Championships. Slak, I'm going to go to you first, and then you, Sam. Short answers out the gate to a very specific question.
Okay.
Is this a satisfying culmination of the tournament?
No, but the tournament wasn't very loaded either. It just wasn't.
Think, Sam?
Yeah, go ahead, Sam. Sorry.
Can I answer after the match? I mean, right now, no. But Slak's right. The tournament itself, I thought the most interesting in the tournament was Trent and Orange Cassidy, and there was just more there than we're getting. But they can make that okay with the match. And Slak and I both have a suggestion on how to do that. But I would say no. It feels the easiest, the path of least resistance for this open tag title. Okay, we'll just put our forever rivals in it. And it's like, yeah, okay, we could have thought a little harder about this.
I agree with both of you guys, both in that the tournament wasn't really set. In hindsight, the tournament was set up to get to this final, I guess, is really, and in sort of in service of Trent turning heel, which I thought they've done very, very well. I'm very interested in that story.
Yes.
Sam sort of teased that you and him have an idea how this might go or how you'd like it to go. Slak, you want to expand on that? Like, give the people what they want?
I have brain damage, so I'm going to let Sam do it because I'm not sure what we talked about, and I'd like to hear what we talked about.
Well, it was at Windy City Riot.
Okay.
I think it's a possibility, but again, they don't like to do shenanigans on pay-per-views, but I think a returning Jack Perry deciding this would be the best way to do this, and joining the Elite, because if you were in the arena on Friday, it was why we do this. It was why we watch wrestling. There are moments that happen at a good show like that feel like the same thing that's been happening for decades. Throughout all of wrestling has been about that reaction that Jack Perry got in Chicago. It feels like you're watching the same thing from 1975 in the territories. I feel like this is the time for them to capitalize on it, and it certainly felt like that was like their test run. Like Tony was like, Rocky, I want to run this out in Chicago so I can see how it looks and see how it sounds. And the way it did, I think there's a a decent chance they're going to run it out at Sunday.
There's a
That sound
chance for
good to
that
you,
for
Slak?
sure. It could, and I think, at the time, obviously I was high on the experience, but I do wonder about that reaction outside of Chicago, right? I think that's a very unique thing.
Yep.
And
Especially in St. Louis.
Yeah,
Where it's,
yeah.
but
Yeah, and I don't know. I also have the inkling that the Motor City Machine Guns potentially could make a debut here in the spot, coming out at the end, throwing down a challenge to who I believe will win, which is the Young Bucks.
I'm actually right alongside you there, Slak. I think that's exactly what's happening. I think the Young Bucks, it's a clean win, and then the Motor City Machine Guns sort of do a me and you one more time thing.
Yep.
And it is exciting that we're going to get the 400th match between those guys on pay-per-view. I'm looking forward to Young Bucks, Motor Machine Guns 400. That's going to be monumental. So looking forward to that. No, I'm being a dink. I am excited. I would absolutely add the Machine Guns. I think this tag division needs tag teams. There's barely a tag team you can mention that I would say, yes, sign them immediately and put them in the tag division. So happy to see that. Yeah, to Jack Perry, just briefly, it remains to be seen for me. I agree that I'm sure it didn't come across as on TV as great as it was in person, but I got to tell you, my girlfriend's getting into New Japan right now, and she was just like, holy smokes, like what's going on here? And this is the beauty of having a very over heel, is that Shota Umino all of a sudden is like, oh wow, is this guy awesome?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, oh right, this is how the trick is done. But I can't pretend that I'm like a Jack Perry guy all of a sudden. I've never seen it in him for his entire run at AEW. I thought the Four Pillars feud he stunk in. I didn't really like Jurassic Express or his run with Christian. And so to me, he reads as, I've always liked his matches, for the record. I think he's a good wrestler. And him and Luchasaurus is an underrated match in the AEW catalog for my money. I like that match a lot. But as the guy to put this big character work shoulder load to bear, I would love for it to be the case, but I can't say he reads as anything more than like a character of circumstance to me right now. He happened to go through this giant thing with CM Punk, and then he's wrestling in Chicago against a babyface the week of the footage released, and a week after Mania and all this stuff that I couldn't be more tired of talking about. But there is, I don't know. You guys talk about St. Louis. I think of it not as much location, but like time proximity. Like, is Jack Perry a super over heel a month from now in AEW? Like, that sounds, I'd be shocked if that's the case. Like, it really doesn't seem realistic to me. I would love for it to be the case. Maybe aligning with the Elite would get him there. But I think the Elite probably needs, like, is Matt Jackson still your best talker? I don't know. It's
probably. I mean, Okada's a great talker in his way.
Yeah, actually,
but
you know what? I'm playing the fool, for the record. It's obviously Okada. That's not even close. He's been killing it. So I don't know. I would love for this to pan out and Jack Perry be even to harness 50% of what he had. That would still be great work by him to get a smidge of that. But I just haven't seen it before. So I thought the new t-shirts he put out looked cool.
I think having him in the Elite limits how much he has to talk, which is good for everyone involved. You say like, oh, does he have it? Does he have this heat, this momentum a month from now? Well, to me, that's just more reason to do it now. And then,
sure,
if it peters out, you pivot, you figure something else out. The Motor City Machine Guns, that's fine. That works for me too. I think the Bucks are going to win too. I love FTR, but them winning the tag titles just seems rote at this point. Like, there's just nothing. There's nothing there for me. The Elite have so much more going on that they should have it. But
I totally agree.
I don't know.
Yep. I think we all agree on that one.
It is interesting though. If FTR loses here, their place in the AEW tag scene isn't that clear to me. It'll be interesting to watch because they are sort of the de facto tag team. I think everybody knows what I mean by that to some degree. Like, not the Young Bucks are a tag team, but they've spent lots of time in trios doing this or that. FTR, and now it's like, okay, where do they go from here? Is it the thing with Garcia and trios?
I mean, why can't they just continue to do tag team matches? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I would love to see it.
Me too.
I'd love to see when Anthony Henry gets healthy, they do push Workhorsemen.
That'd be my champions.
Yeah, they're excellent.
JD Gray, maybe the best play Gray advocate there is.
Absolutely.
No question. like I said, if the Young Bucks are taking this opportunity to bring the tag division back, I think you also have to put the Guns back in the division. You have to put the Acclaim back in the division. There's just a lot of teams, established teams that aren't doing the will they, won't they, the breakup, the two singles guys paired together teams that they're not using. And that stinks.
Right. Phoenix getting healthy would help.
That would help too. I would love a real Lucha Brothers thing to come to do that. We haven't seen that in forever.
It kind of feels like it'll never happen again.
It's crazy.
Well, they can't keep Phoenix upright for more than 7 minutes.
Right.
I mean, I will tell you the Young Bucks Lucha Brothers match we saw Slak at the first All Out we went to. That's probably still my favorite AEW match that I've been in the building for.
I think I agree. It was insane. It was crazy to watch in person. It was truly an experience. Yeah, for sure.
But none of this is hard. That's the great thing about AEW. Is like we complain the tag division has been dormant or flat for a while, and it's like 2 weeks of work and it's hot again. They have everything there. So I we want to see it.
Yes, we do. And like you bring up, Sam, it wouldn't be hard to rebirth this stuff. The only part of this that I do find myself really looking forward to is the ladder match portion of it. I think the Young Bucks versus FTR in a ladder match is interesting. Obviously, Young Bucks, phenomenal in ladder matches, borderline known for them. Like, I don't know if it's like quite Hardy's tier that you think of them with it, but definitely guys then had a very famous one with the Hardys in fact. But I think that there's a very obvious dynamic being played there. I think FTR will probably lose by Cash trying something off of a ladder. That seems to be how they do the FTR losses, is Cash like acting a little out of pocket. So that's what I'm expecting, is him to go a little buck wild off a ladder and Young Bucks to pick up the titles. That said, the machine guns in them in a ladder match, that would really be something. That would really be something. Okay. Slak, you mentioned them a couple minutes ago. It's the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass versus Bullet Club Gold, the team of Jay White and the Guns, for both confirmed on Tony Khan's media call today. Both the AEW Trios and Ring of Honor 6-man titles, they'll be put into one. Slak, talk about that decision to make those titles whole and what you think of this match.
Yeah, he mentioned that somebody was injured recently and they weren't sure if they could confirm that match until the last minute. Thankfully, they can. This needs to end as soon as possible. It needs to end months ago. I just think this is like the worst thing on the show week in, week out, by far.
Non-Jericho division?
Yeah. You know what? That's a good point. But
I'd rather watch the Jericho Hook stuff.
I would too. This is one of the things that I just don't understand.
Yeah.
I know Juice is hurt, and I love Juice Robinson, and I want him back as soon as possible because Bang Bang Gang was great on their own, and even Juice and Jay as a tag team was great, but the Jay White MJF thing was stunk out loud. It may have hurt Jay's career, quite honestly. But then you had him get his ass kicked by Billy Gunn for 20 minutes, which was like the Family Guy sketch with the knee from like 1990, whatever.
Was that his punishment for being everyone's least favorite performer in the Continental Classic, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Or was it Billy Gunn just, throwing pipe around and saying, I'm doing it my way? I don't know. But it sucked. And it just, it's got to stop. So let's get these things unified, get them on the Bang Bang Gang for now, and just move on. Like, this has to stop. It's so bad. I hate it. I'm saying it. I hate it.
He hates it.
I hate it.
Do you hate it, Sam Fels?
Yeah, I certainly don't like it. Hate's a strong word. Because I still remain a Jay White fan, and I
am too.
I think everything will be fine when
no
Juice
one
is
should
back.
hate this more than Jay White fans.
Right? No,
I would think the bigger Jay White fan you are, the more you hate this.
It's bad. I mean, okay, as long as unifying the titles is great because it splits them up, and we don't. I'm really weary of ROH AEW crossover. Like, I really want them to do that very rarely. It should be special when it happens, and this has gone on too long. But like, again, okay, now they're trios champions. Like, well, I don't really have much use for a trio champion anyway.
Right.
I'm kind of surprised this snuck its way onto the pay-per-view, but it's fine as long as it ends. It's like, okay, everyone admit it didn't work. Let's move on.
They should have admitted this quite a while ago, though. That's the thing. I know they read the stuff that people are saying. We know they read it. Tony's replying to random tweets that he's not even tagged in. I know he sees it.
He's even
Yeah,
liked
but
a couple
there is-
Wrestling Brain ones lately.
Yes, he
Right.
did.
I mean,
he's in the
is-
Discord.
That's
There is
swerve.
something
That's
to be
swerve
said.
for the record.
There is something to be said by sticking to your guns and having some conviction about what you're booking and putting out there. Like, no, I believe in this and it'll work. But yeah, it's past its sell by date. I don't even think the match will be that good. But
No.
I don't either.
No.
I don't see how it could be.
Yeah.
There's zero heat between two factions that have been rivals for months, and there's no heat.
Not only
None.
months, Acclaimed and Guns for years.
You're right.
Yeah.
We saw the Acclaimed and Guns at Revolution last year, Slak in San Francisco. Like,
You're going to see it this Saturday night on Collision, which I can't believe that they're doing the tag match before the trios match.
Oh my god.
Okay, I have a theory here, guys, and it's a little mean, okay?
Okay.
But I need Tony Khan to make me a deal. I don't care who wins on Sunday in this match at all. But the deal is that the Acclaimed can never win titles again because they iced the tag titles and they iced the trios titles back to back. And it's not for lack of TV time or not doing their act. They're on the show. You could say, is Daddy Ass anchoring them, pulling them down? Sure, I suppose. I would hear that out as part of the reason. I think everybody who watches the channel knows I enjoy Anthony Bowens a great deal and like his natural energy and his style in ring. But I just don't know how you look at the evidence of like these guys. They got super over and then it's been bad, like not good for ages. And they've cooled off. The Guns, I was not a Guns believer. I was like, oh, Billy Gunn's sons are going to get a push here. Okay. I think they're awesome. I think they're really good. And I think they're much better than the Acclaimed. And they're all wrapped up here in a scene I already don't care about, but they're holding Jay White and the Guns hostage. And I don't know, put these on the Acclaimed maybe, and then let these guys go Jay White back into singles and the Guns to tag division is maybe my ideal setup. I'll pick the Acclaimed here, I suppose. I'll pick the opposite team of whoever wins the tag team match on Collision. How about that? Whoever wins on Collision Saturday, I will pick the other team to be winning Sunday. But yeah, I don't think the Acclaimed can be winning titles for a little bit.
I just don't think the Acclaim's act has evolved all that much. It got super over, as you said, and
Zero.
We love catchphrases, and they were funny, they were different, and they're kind of out of nowhere, and that's great. But then, okay, you get to the top, you win the tag titles, you've earned that. There's gotta be something else, and there just hasn't been. That stuff lasts 6 months to a year. That's exactly what they got. And
well, the thing that people aren't maybe talking about as much, and I haven't heard it anywhere really, is Max Caster's social media presence is very toxic. I don't know what happened to him. He tweets out the most bizarre, unfunny, and downright bad stuff lately.
I actually haven't seen this.
Yeah, if you can go look. It's not good, and it's like not good. Like it's not just not funny. It's like bad. And it's not coming through on TV. They're clearly not like making it a part of his on-screen gimmick, but he's going through something personally. I assume. I know his dad died recently. And he's holding back Anthony Bowens at this point too. Like you said, like maybe it's time for a super kick through a glass plate. I don't know. Like
it's funny, Slak. You bring this up, and sorry to interrupt here, but for the last hour, he's just saying that Jay White sucks at wrestling. Like multiple tweets of people just saying that Jay White sucks at wrestling. Very weird.
It's weird. It's not good. It's just very bad. I like I said, something's rotten. I want them to get past this. Anthony Bowens probably deserves better. So, let's get through this and move on. We probably talked about it way too long as it is.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the final title match on our card. That's sanctioned at least. It's Julia Hart versus Willow Nightingale for the TBS title.
Okay.
Lots of moving pieces in this one, Sam. I feel like the prediction for the end of this match is impossible for myself. Like because I could see a million different ways of this going with winners in either direction and feuds burning in either direction. But go on the record. How do you see this playing out? And are you happy with it if they do go that way?
Are we going to talk about this as if Julia's healthy?
That's a good question. Talk about it however you want.
Okay. If Julia is healthy, and I assume if she weren't, they would have sort of made it clear that, like they did with Hater, some sort of like thing where it's kind of obvious she's gonna have a weird match and lose. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk
I
about
just got sad. If I got sad at you bringing that up, that makes me sad.
but they didn't do that this time. She just was kept out of it. They didn't.
And she was in the mixed tag on Wednesday,
You're
which there
right.
was
Yeah.
no reason to
But
do
she
the
was
mixed
in it.
tag.
She was in it, but she wasn't in it. She's sort of kept out of it. So that makes me think they're just protecting her for something. I think this is where we get Stoke and Stat joining Mercedes. I think Stat costs Willow the match because Willow and Mercedes does not need a title. That is not a feud that requires a title. We can keep more people on pay-per-views and on TV by having that not involve a title just yet. And then you've got Willow going through whatever they call this Stat Mercedes Stokely lineup. I can't wait to hear what name that is. So I think they don't do a lot of shenanigans on pay-per-views. They don't do interference a lot, but I think this is one we're gonna get where we're gonna set this up. Stat being Mercedes is heavy, which I cannot wait for. Stokely being her mouthpiece, which she obviously needs. And I will be delighted because I think Julia's been a good champ. I think she needs a few more matches. I could see her dropping a Double or Nothing to someone. But I think that's what happens here. We're gonna get the Mercedes faction set up that costs Willow the match, and then she's gonna chase Stat for betraying her and Mercedes because that's the hot feud, and that's how that's gonna go.
How's that hit your ears, Slak?
I mean, that's what I want to happen. I'm ready, but I just worry about the match itself. I hate that they're gonna push a very injured Julia to come out and either lose quickly or just like work around it in a way that the match doesn't even happen. That bums me out. I'm not going to lie. I think Willow deserves better. And Julia, if she's hurt, she shouldn't be the champion anymore. So having her keep the belt if she can't wrestle, I'm sick of injured champions just kind of like sitting on a belt for weeks at a time. She just came back. She was out for a while and then she's hurt again. So if that's the case, let her heal and let's put the belt on somebody else. So I don't think it's out of the question that Willow wins and then the turns kind of take place or then the story kicks into gear. But this is such a big deal to me because it revolves around Mercedes in a way that it needs to keep her or get her fresh until Double or Nothing, which is still 5-6 weeks away. Yeah, so she's not going to wrestle for a while. And I know that that's a source of frustration. So there's got to be something to keep things from she's cutting a promo, she's mad at this, or she's excited about that. Like, let's do this. They got to do it now. I again, like, why are we waiting? Willow is like the ultimate babyface, I think. And if you can set this up in a way where she gets to like put on her acting chops and look just scorned and hurt and shocked, the sky's the limit for her because in ring, she's so good and she's so strong. Like, I genuinely wanted to see her versus Brody just one-on-one. I don't even need the rest. Just let them wrestle. That match would be so good. But I'm just excited for what they do. And I'm nervous about it because there's a chance they don't do what they need to, like I talked about with Tony and Rosa. And I just really fear that they're going to slow play this again, and they shouldn't.
Yeah, I could see their way of protecting Julia being stopping Willow Nightingale, but since she can launch into a feud with Mercedes, that's fine, but it does put the TBS title in sort of an interesting spot. I'm picking it to be a bit more nuclear. I think the AEW ethos of pay-per-views, play it pretty straight, will be here. You might see some lights out House of Black shenanigans. Maybe Chris Statlander doesn't help Willow is the moment. But I think that if they're putting Julia Hart out there, she can wrestle. I just don't think that AEW would do that. If they have, I'm not saying they're not going to work around something. There's going to be a full tilt Julia Hart match. But I think the fact that there is a title being defended, unless there's an angle on Collision or something, tells you that she's ready to go at least well enough that she can have a singles match to Willow. I'm picking her to defend. I am picking Julia Hart to successfully defend the TBS title. And by the end of it, Willow Nightingale is just sent in the direction of Mercedes Moné. I just don't see Willow and Mercedes going for the TBS. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just that's the part of it I can't get my head around.
Josh, that's been my thing. I mean, I've tried to give this a wide berth because Mercedes isn't healthy, but when she said that this is where she was pointed and this was a direction, it did sound so odd to me because I don't want to call it. It's the junior title. It's not as important as Tony's, and I get that you've got Tony and Mariah, and and that whole thing, and Hayter eventually will come back to that. And it's already something in a crowded scene. But this is why I want Willow and Mercedes to have their feud without a title.
Yeah.
AEW hasn't really done a women's, or at least many of them, women's angles that don't involve a title. Becky was just complaining about this in WWE, in fact. It's not something that happens a lot. Here is something where you can do it, and for Double or Nothing, you could have 3 women's matches on the card. And if it's Tony and Mariah, that might actually main event a Double or Nothing. And I think that would be really healthy for the company. I just don't see putting it on Willow and then having Mercedes chase her. It's the secondary, it's the junior title. It doesn't need it. That's why I think something's going to happen here to cost Willow and set that all up so that it doesn't require a title.
There's so many permutations of awesome women's matches and feuds that we can be having. Let's do that nonstop. And we haven't talked about her. She's not on the card, but put Queen Aminata on TV every week. Get her in Queen. Get her in a program. She is awesome. I have never seen her have a bad match.
No, she is awesome.
She's so good. And I think they know that, and they're going to continue to get her into the scene. But man, you have some really great fresh matchups you can run for months. Let's go. Stop waiting. Let's do it.
I love that attitude. I want to hear him, Tony. Listen to the Slak man. Go on the record. Who are you picking, Sam, in this match?
Julia.
And you, Slak?
I'm going to pick Willow.
And I am on Julia. Split crowd. I love it. Okay. Now we're on to my most anticipated match of the evening.
I know
the Continental title is up for grabs. Kazuchika Okada versus the bastard Pac. I'm very interested in AEW pay-per-view Okada. Pac is as willing and able a participant to have an Okada tier match on a pay-per-view as there is. And that is my expectation for this match. Your thoughts, Andrew C. Slak?
Yeah, I'm pumped. Pac rules. I think we're all pumped to have him back. He's wrestled more matches in like a week than he's wrestled in all of 2023. And it's awesome. It's great. He's always been Pac. And when he's here, the company's better. And Okada's here. I mean, Okada's the greatest wrestler of the last 30 years, probably. And he's in the company that I watch the most. And he's on a pay-per-view that I'm definitely watching against a guy who kicks ass. So I think you said it, Josh. I'm stealing your line, but Pac's going to take one of the best rainmakers of all time. He
is.
Absolutely.
Man. And they don't need to do like a super long match. It doesn't need to be 25 minutes. It can be 14, 15 minutes max. And they can just go and beat the shit out of each other. Man, that's going to cork. It's going to be outstanding.
Speaking of cork, that's actually exactly how I think Pac's going to sell the Rainmaker. I'm not joking. I think it's going to be like a backflip corkscrew lands on his head.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this match, man. This is like, think about the inverse. This is how I keep thinking about these things, because Okada and AEW is still sort of weird or novel or however you want to look at it to me. Imagine if Pac was going to New Japan to wrestle Okada. We'd be losing it.
Yes.
That's happening.
It is. Yeah. This is the world we live in now. These matches are in the same promotion.
And it's great to be here. Unfortunately, what this match doesn't have going for it is any sort of believability that Pac is going to win this match. I really think this is probably your lock of the card. I think Okada probably picks up the win here. Either of you disagree?
No. But I agree with you. It's going to cork. It's going to be absolutely great. I don't know that Okada's doing a pay-per-view match in less than 20 minutes. I don't think he's got it in his system. But it is sort of the flip side of the card, the flip side of Danielson and Ospreay, where we've just put these two on a graphic and everyone's like, that's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. Like we don't really need much more else. It's a little lower. I have my issues with Continental title and it actually being something you can win, but whatever. I don't care because of Okada and Pac. It is going to be great. I guess this opens the show. Will this be an opener? They like to do a big opener, and this would qualify. But yeah, it's going to be great.
I got a little sweaty thinking about Okada versus Swerve just now. I just wanted to put that out there.
He's sweating.
Yeah, a little bit.
More like Sweat Strickland. Okay. Yeah, not a ton to say about this one. I think it'll be a good match, a sprint, and with Okada standing tall at the end. And it sounds like you guys agree. How about this one? Earlier, Sam, you said that Thunder Rosa was sort of a local favorite of yours, and so she'll live in your heart as she moves up the card in international wrestling. That's Kyle O'Reilly for me, the long-time champion of my local federation. I've seen this guy wrestle feet in front of me a million times. And it just so happens he also wrestles the style of match that I really enjoy. And he is here against the Zoobs' favorite wrestler, Roderick Strong, for the AEW International title. Here's the question, Slak. Is this match going to be more than it is? Everybody is expecting a good, hard-hitting match for Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly here. Is that all that there is here? Or is a title change possible? Are run-ins possible? Is a dynamic between these guys changing possible? What are you foreseeing for the international title match?
I see Strong retaining with shenanigans and this being not the end of this story. Whether that's good or bad is up to you, the viewer, but I don't think we're done with this. I don't know where it goes if he's already lost the title challenge, but he was hanging out with Shibata backstage for a bit there. I think we've all talked about running that back now that Kyle's healthy. Although obviously Shibata 2024 isn't Shibata of 2018 or whenever that was, the baseball field
that
match.
even I think 15.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I guess Strong would retain, but if he doesn't, that faction's deader than it already is, which is, again, another thing that we're just sitting waiting on for something that's not going to happen anytime soon, which is their leader coming back, which again, reported recently, Cole's nowhere near healthy. And I don't know. It's definitely got a chance to over deliver because the two guys can obviously wrestle circles around most people. And I am excited about Kyle O'Reilly coming back because he's great. And I like his character journey. So if he's on this journey of I can do it myself, I got to see if I still have it. I don't think losing is a bad thing for Kyle here.
What about you, Sam? You see KOR picking up an L in his pay-per-view return?
I feel like I'm going to put myself out there to look like a complete idiot. But
that's what these things are about.
That's what these things are for.
Let's cook.
I think that Adam Cole stuff getting out there, that he's not anywhere close. I think this is where they just start cutting the cord on Yui. And they just put this on Kyle, and the ROH tag champs just go back to their home planet at ROH. And you can still run a Roddy Kyle feud without it. I have an inkling here that Kyle's going to win as a sort of, okay, we can't keep running this UE thing until Cole's back. It's just going to be too long.
Now, UE, you do mean UK, the Undisputed Kingdom, right? Yeah, just for the listeners, not the United Empire.
You can see where I'm
confused, very easy mistake to make.
And I also, I sort of always have an issue with running old WWE faction tiffs in AEW. It's fine because these two are so good in the ring that this will work, but it's not something I would go to heavily. But it could absolutely go the other way. They could be planning that Cole stuff as a false flag, and he shows up Sunday, and then I'll look like a moron. But I feel like that they're like already preparing the ground for this thing to just be like, okay, we can't. This just isn't going to fly for 7 more months or whatever it is until Cole's ready. And Roddy just isn't strong enough outside the ropes to carry this faction as a story for that long. So I think we get a true surprise here. Kyle wins. He's clearly going to be a workhorse champion, which that title kind of needs. He can sort of do an Orange Cassidy like run, but in a different style. I think we get a surprise here. I think Kyle wins, and I think this whole Roddy Cole thing just kind of disappears into the ether. Honestly, it just kind of fades into the background.
I want you to be right. That's that's what I want to happen.
I mean,
I'm on the other side of the coin.
This.
I think I'm closer to Slak, where KOR's build backstory might eventually mean getting through Roderick Strong, maybe in Vancouver at Collision. Or maybe that's where we get Shibata KOR 3. But I think the build to him at that Collision, probably getting something big, is when the win happens. And I don't feel like his story is one of he's even questioning himself. So yeah, I'm picking KOR here, but I wouldn't mind I'm picking Strong here, but I wouldn't mind what you said, Sam.
I get lost in my own head. I just thought the timing of that Cole stuff coming out, that he's not close, is just like you're gonna do that on the week of like 2 days, 3 days before the pay-per-view, huh? Okay.
I think sometimes that stuff plays for sure.
Yeah. So I just think that's where we're headed here, that they're just gonna pull the plug on this whole thing because it's not working. It's just not working.
Adam Copeland, Mark Briscoe, and Eddie Kingston, the team we all know and love, versus the House of Black. Just a trios match here on the pay-per-view. Sam, I'll throw it right back to you. Talk me into this. Why should I be more interested in this match than I am?
Oh, geez, Josh, give me a challenge. Like, I don't know.
Brody King, maybe?
Like, I think House of Black is going over here, but I don't know what we're setting up. Are we setting up Malachi going after Ed Copeland, or are we setting Brody up to do it? Because it could go either way. Malachi doesn't seem to want to wrestle singles, or can't. It just isn't healthy enough. And if you're doing that, then it still sounds like they're just being set up to lose to Ed Copeland. So I think the match will be fine to good, because all 6 of these guys are good. But it is a little weird. I mean, this is kind of what House of Black does, right? They just pick someone and they're going to torment them. They've been doing it to Briscoe. They've been doing it to Eddie. They threw in, Ed Copeland recently, so it's a nice culmination. But yeah, I mean, it'll be kind of a 10-minute sprint, and it'll be a lot of big spots, and Buddy will kick someone right in the chest really hard, and it'll be great. And but that's about the extent of it. It breaks my heart that Malachi just isn't as interested in this as I want him to be, because he was one of my favorites in NXT, and there should be just so much more going on. And Brody's arm has been broken for 2 years. Like, what's going on there? Like, I don't know. I can't sell you on it, honestly.
How about you, Slak? You want to step up to the plate? Are you more into this one than myself or Sam?
No, I'm just kind of sad about whatever House of Black is what they're doing, like what the point is. It sort of feels like it's like they're here still, so we have to like do stuff with them, even though they don't want to play ball. And again, that could all just be behind the scenes stuff that isn't real. I don't know, but it's certainly, like, again, I'm trying to take things at face value. What I see on TV and on pay-per-views every single cycle is them not doing anything important. That's just how it's been. So there's obviously a reason. And this match feels like, hey, we've got 6 guys that are popular, or at least some combination of them is popular with somebody, so they can have a match. I know Mark Briscoe has been feuding with House of Black for a while now, where they tried to burn each other alive or whatever's going on there. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know where this goes. There's no belts involved. I don't know. I don't know. I just think it's a shame that Mark Briscoe, the Ring of Honor champion, will probably get pinned on a pay-per-view, which sucks.
Yeah, it's really weird that they're using a pay-per-view match to forward some angle instead of it being the other way around. Like, this is a match that's going to set up something in the future. So why is it on a pay-per-view?
Like, maybe Brody King challenging for the Ring of Honor title. That'd be cool. Or Brody challenging, Edge, or Adam. That's fine too. The funny thing about House of Black is Slak, as you say, they they're rarely doing anything important, but the crowd still loves them. Like, everyone's like wanting them to do something. Yeah, but those, I mean, it just like the word is that Malachi and Buddy are, as soon as that deal's up, they're out, right? And it just feels like
guys,
yeah, which is great. But like, I just wish they would just go, because I mean, like, I get you don't want to give them back to the Fed so that the Fed has 2 guys, but they weren't shit when they were there. They're not going to be shit when they go back. Like, it doesn't matter.
Also, you got Ospreay, Okada, and Monet. You could give the small.
You got
some wiggle room here.
You give these guys the crust of your sandwich, for God's sakes. I mean, look at the product they're putting over there in New York. They need a hand, man.
Brody and Julia can still run this gimmick by themselves, for sure.
And they should. It'd be better.
It's the House of King. The only reason this is just not helpful for my interest in this card is because, and I don't know if either of you saw this, but I was like moved by the Eddie Kingston and Mark Briscoe match on Ring of Honor there the other week.
Of course. Yeah.
on was that Supercard of Honor on Mania weekend?
Mhm.
And I really thought they hit a pitch perfect tone and had all this heart to such a degree that them teaming up, I was like, that's actually kind of interesting. These two guys go through a blood feud. They're both reminiscing about the brother. It's kind of a cool pairing. And now House of Black is attacking. And so there was actually a lot there for me on the bone. And then there's no follow-up. And they like shoehorn in through the back door Cope because you need him on the show, which I understand, and proven ticket seller, the live crowds like him, but do it somewhere else. Because I actually think Mark Briscoe and Eddie Kingston versus Brody King and Buddy, or Malachi and Buddy, or Brody and Malachi, whatever 2v2 and the third one on the outside orchestration you wanted to do, would actually be a really compelling, hot, interesting match to me here, purely on the Mark and Eddie dynamic. I also think you have something very special in Mark Briscoe right now, and this match just
I agree.
doesn't. You just had this giant celebratory moment that I was hooked by. Now he's just in a throwaway 6-man. I think Eddie's taking the pin, not Briscoe, but I could see it.
I could see that,
either
yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, take that energy and send it at something, because it's singles or just tagging with Eddie. I actually think Mark Briscoe could be one of the more compelling people up and down this whole pay-per-view right now, based off just one match 2 weeks ago. And instead it's like just here. And it's like, come on, man. I felt really good about that match. I really did.
Yeah, it was great.
It also kind of cheapens, might be too strong, but it definitely doesn't help the status of the ROH title. It's like we had this big emotional, catharsis of him winning the ROH title just 2 weeks ago. It's like, oh yeah, now he's good enough to be in a trios match on the beginning of a card. It's like, well, that doesn't really make him improve his stature much. There are plenty of AEW fans who are going to be watching this who don't watch ROH,
It's almost better just to not be on the card at all, right? I think that's fair to say.
Or you find, maybe
This
Eddie needs a hand in something. Like, you find something if you want to.
Yeah, this isn't all in. This isn't your biggest show. This is a new pay-per-view they just invented. You don't have to be on it. It's not like, I'm missing Dynasty. Oh, I don't get to go to St. Louis. Fuck me. That's horrible. Like, what? I don't get to eat dirt off the ground. Yeah, whatever. Give me a break. Do me a favor. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Also, it's just so easy to imagine Mark Briscoe and Eddie Kingston kicking it, and then Ed Choplin entering the room. It's like, "What's up, guys?" the vibe is so thrown. They don't feel like a trio at all.
No, they're definitely.
Where was Homicide?
He was hanging out with us on Friday.
Yeah, he was hanging out with us last Friday. Yeah, he was like right by us. Actually,
Yes, he was.
He was fighting it. He was fighting in the stands. They were like a section over.
Not surprised. Okay, well, let's end off here on what I think Slak said in the Discord, and we've referenced it a couple times. If you want to get into the Wrestling Brain Discord, make your picks, talk about Dynasty while it's on, talk with both these gentlemen there and there. Get into patreon.com/J0SHC. $5 a month gets you into there. And all the content I do behind the paywall, there's a ton there, hundreds of episodes, not hundreds, but over 100 and something. Patreon.com/J0SHC. And you're giving a donation to somebody who appreciates it. I'm small enough that you're like, I'll notice you did it. I'll say, thank you. Go to McDonald's, they don't give a shit. Thanks for your money. They don't care. I care.
You'll get a personal thank you.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'll click wave to say hi on Discord.
Maybe a tier 2 subscription gets you a personal thank you.
yeah, that's right. That's right, Slak. But I think Slak was saying in that Discord, this next match is his most anticipated of the night. It's Hook putting the FTW championship on the line against Chris Jericho. If this match seems familiar to you, it's because it happened 2 weeks ago. Hook beat Chris Jericho, but he isn't as good as he thinks he is, and Chris Jericho has to prove it to him. Slak, do you stand by your words that this is your most anticipated match on the card?
Well, I'd like to just state on the record that I did say that. I actually tattooed it on my body. No, I get what he's doing. He's clearly like still trying to do some kind of like, I'm making fun of like the punk stuff. And it's like, stop, just don't. He's leaning into the thing where people obviously think he's annoying. Talking about Jericho right now, they think he's past it. They think he sucks up the air in the room, and whoever he's in a feud with, he takes all their energy like a vampire, and it keeps him looking like 45 years old for the rest of his life. And people like Hook, and now he's stuck in that. So Jericho's making fun of it by actually doing it, which isn't making fun of it. You're just doing it. So
If it's a bad movie, it's not a spoof. You know what I mean? Like Scary
Right.
Movie 4, you know, like this is how that stuff plays.
yeah, so like I don't know. Like I appreciate like getting the shove of Taz who's got like no knees left, and the fact that Taz is willing to do that for this speaks volumes about Taz, who's a legend, obviously. But I don't know what we're doing with this. I think big picture, you can't not have Jericho on TV because of who he is, his contract, the what do I call it? The juice he has backstage and with Tony. And also, if you're Tony Khan, I'm guessing there's a large part of you who's like, I don't want that guy like hating my guts publicly. That's terrifying.
That's a guy who
AEW,
talks.
you don't want that dude going out there and being like, yeah, they fired me, and here's the deal. Because he'll talk to everybody about it. So
Well,
it's
especially
like,
if he goes back to New York and it's like it's Cody, Punk, Jericho, like these guys who AEW had who were at the top of the card, and Jericho would just talk about it into infinity. And listen, Jericho does deserve a ton of credit. Without Jericho Omega happening and his presence at the beginning of AEW, I mean, he's as important as anybody or more so. So, but yeah, to watch, it's besides, you're right, he looks young again somehow.
yeah, I mean, he's drinking the blood of guys like Hook. But I just think, I think if he is willing to read the room, which he's typically pretty good at. I mean, he's usually able to pivot when things aren't going right. He switches and somehow keeps himself relevant. But that feels like a closed window to me now. Once those kinds of allegations came out, people were just like, you know, fuck this guy. He's not even using the Judas song anymore because people don't want to sing it. So he switched. Like he knows what's going on. If he can just like, let's make him the Rampage commentator full time. He doesn't have to be in matches anymore. He can hang around. If there's a way to do that amicably, great. I don't think that's what's happening. And unfortunately, he's just going to be on TV until whatever happens where he's done. And that's just kind of how it is, unfortunately. And it sucks.
Do you agree with me that he's winning the FTW title on Sunday?
Yeah, I do think he's winning the FTW title. He's going to do like it with the ROH thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Disrespect this,
yeah,
this title, get the guy mad. What about you, Sam? Is it 3 for 3, or do you think Hook goes 2-0 against Le Champion?
Well, it's always nice when you know where on a card you're going to take a piss and have a smoke.
Unironically, I actually think that.
So, yeah, I mean, why else would you be doing this if he wasn't gonna? I think, you know, what's it gonna be, the Nueve now, you know, or but I think you're all right. He has meant too much to the company for them to just discard him for all the reasons, and for the reasons you've said, Josh, because you don't want this guy on the warpath, you know, against you outside of your company. I also think we're having to watch in real time Jericho struggling with the end of his career. That, you know, Jericho always used to be the guy, like especially the first few years in AEW, he always made the things work. As dumb as they sounded when they first came out, you know, like he looked terrible. He's got a dumb finisher. The song was bad, and it all worked. You know, it's like he always made it work. He just gets the business, and now it doesn't work. But he still thinks he's the guy who can make anything work. I don't get the impression that he's winking at the crowd right now and sort of trying to do a meta. Yeah, I know everyone thinks I'm doing this. So I'm going to do it on purpose, and it's going to be
I
bad
do think
on purpose.
that.
You do?
I think this is him listening and being like, okay, people don't like me right now. This is what they think I'm doing. I'm going to do it. And that's sort of my finger in their chest. Oh, now you have to boo me as a heel. That's just my read on it, though. I don't know.
Still sounds to me like a desperate ploy to hang on.
Sure.
You know, like he just doesn't have it in the card. The matches just aren't quite good enough anymore. And, you know, and Jericho matches obviously were good in their own way that made this thing work. He can't talk himself out of it on the mic anymore. He's got these things floating out there about him that fans have turned on him for. But, like, you know, I have some patience or understanding. It must be really hard to be like coming to the end of your career and accept that when you've been doing it so long and you're always the guy who made it work.
That's a good point.
And I think we just have to. It sucks and it takes some air out of the show, but we kind of just all have to wait around and watch him until he gets it. And he's like, you know what? I'm not the guy who can make anything work anymore. And I don't know when that's going to happen. but he's earned himself enough runway that we just kind of have to slog through it. I mean, I have no interest in this match. I like Hook, but he's not must see. I don't have a huge amount of hope that he's going to be something way more than this.
I'm the last Hook believer. Everyone, I'm the last guy who thinks Hook could be a main eventer.
It's too skinny.
Yeah, well, you got Brian Cage on the roster. You can take care of that, no problem. The moment you want to become a champion,
yeah, right.
You go talk to talk to the machine.
That doesn't mean I don't think Hook doesn't have a place. He does, but this, I don't know. I just feel like we're all watching Jericho grapple with the end of his in-ring career, and he'll write a book about it someday. That's basically
no question about that. I do want to say I think Jericho will have another great moment in AEW. I do think it'll happen again. It just has nothing to do with what he's doing right now. Right, gentlemen, that is AEW Dynasty, a card that I think looks pretty solid on paper. I'm quite excited for it. Ready to take it in this Sunday, of course. Once again, twitch.tv/WrestlingBrain. The moment it ends, come call in, talk to me, talk to Matt. Let me know what you thought of Dynasty. Sam, thanks so much for joining us. Where can people follow you on the damn internet? What social media are you using these days?
I am on Twitter and Blue Sky at Felsgate, FELSGATE. That's sort of my only outlet. Slak and I do host our own podcast weekly, mostly. It's called Live from the Five Hole, mostly about Chicago sports. It's a good time. We're not very serious about it, as judged by the weekly with a question mark regiment that we keep, but that's where I'm at right now, and hopefully that'll change soon. And if you follow those feeds, I'll let you know where I end up.
Thanks again for joining us, man. Slak, anything you want to say to the people about Dynasty, about you, your life, how things are going before we get out of here for the week?
I want to tell everybody to tune into Twitch on Mondays at 9 p.m. Central for Josh and I's show, WBCW. It's the best fed in the world, hands down.
It's incredible. We book, gamble, view the matches of our own promotion that we play out in Fire Pro Wrestling. We don't play it. We watch it's so hard to explain this damn show. Mondays, 7 to West.
Come check it out. You'll get it right away. You'll get it right away.
You see it for 10 seconds and you go, this is the best thing I ever seen.
This is amazing.
And you'll get it. You won't have any questions. 10 seconds.
Thanks everybody for watching this. Tell a friend if they're watching the pay-per-view on Sunday, send this YouTube video their way, and we'll see you around. Love and energy.
You know me.